Hey, Jason, you feel that?
Feel what, Kevin?
Dad joke showdown that's a brewing, my brother.
Not this again, Kevin. No, not this again.
I feel it. I feel it, man. I feel it. Yes, sir. The past, the present, and the future walk into a bar. It was tense.
Are we really going to do this, Kevin? You serious?
Oh, yeah, we're doing it. We're doing it. We're totally doing it.
So painful, man. Look, okay, let's do it. Let's just do it, all right? Did you hear they arrested the devil? Yeah, they got him on possession.
Dude, that's bad. A bartender broke up with her boyfriend, but he kept asking her for another shot. Get it, shot?
Look, a ham sandwich walks into a bar and orders a beer. The bartender says, "Sorry, we don't serve food here."
Oh, because the ham's... Okay. God. Bad. Man, what does IDK stand for? Everyone I ask says, I don't know.
Kevin, that one almost, I can believe that to be true coming from you. How about this one? My wife asked me to sync her phone. I threw it in the ocean.
Actually, you know what? I kind of like that one. I'm feeling that one. That was pretty solid. That was not too bad right there. Okay, so we done here?
Yeah, man, we got to get moving. Our man Chris Glanden is on tonight, and we got to get going. You know what? We got so much to do. Did you know that he is the creator of BARCODE Security Podcast?
The BARCODE Security Podcast? Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you, man. I just told you he is the creator of BARCODE Security Podcast. Obviously, you didn't know this.
Oh, okay, man. Okay, stop it. You don't have to jump down my throat about it. We're both better than this. Let's move on, okay?
Yeah, all right. Are you sure we're better than this? Because I really think this is just our forte.
No, I'm not. I'm actually not sure we're better than this. This stupidity level is right where we are. But whatever. Cue the intro.
Let's go. Episode 11, Cybersecurity Happy Hour with Chris Glanden.
Welcome to the Cyber Distortion Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 11. We are getting very close to wrapping up this season of the podcast with only a few episodes left this year. And tonight, we have a really good one for you. Jason and I had a chance during Hacker Summer Camp to get out and watch a live podcast. And the host of that podcast is our guest tonight, Mr. Chris Glanden. Now, if anyone knows anything about podcasting, or if anybody's even just been a guest on a podcast, you probably can appreciate the level of complexity that trying to do this stuff live can add into the mix. It's simply not easy to do. And Chris is kind of a master at this. Not only did he do one live podcast that week, he did two during Hacker Summer Camp between Black Hat and DEF CON and everything else out there. So before I hand it over to Chris, I'm going to quickly turn it over to you, Jason, and let you kick us off, man. Episode 11.
Yeah, well, you know what, Kevin? You nailed it when we were talking about doing a live podcast. You know, and I'm going to tell you from firsthand, because I spent hours editing this stuff out to get it to look and flow just right. Man, I can't imagine all the complexities that can happen when you're doing it live and you're just having to go with the flow and just say, you know what, this is what it's going to be. You know, take it as it is. and that broadcast came out really well.
Yeah.
I was there and I saw the recording afterwards, and it did really come out really well. So kudos to you, Chris, for pulling that one off. I think the other interesting thing was the way you did it, right? So this was the BARCODE podcast, but it was done at the BARCODE bar, right? And that was so awesome, dude. That was so awesome. I like the play on how that thing worked out. and the atmosphere for it, how it was set up, and for the audience to participate in it was perfect. I really like how that happened. So with all of that, Chris, why don't you take an opportunity to just share with our listeners yourself, introduce yourself to them.
Yeah, hey guys, thank you so much for having me too, man. And I want to say thank you personally for coming out to the live event in Vegas. It was great meeting you guys there. And I thought it was a good time. So, I've been in the security realm for a little over 10 years. I was in IT prior to that, mainly in IT support. And just a little bit about my background, and I'll give you the rapid version. Always interested in tech throughout school. Once I finished high school, I didn't have the best track record in high school, so and my grades weren't really good enough to get into a 4-year school. So I went to community college for technology. Again, it was an interest of mine, and this was in the mid '90s. So if you think back, there was no security program. It was, non-existent at that point. So it was really, just technology. And, some reason I didn't like that either. So in school, and just having a set curriculum was just not for me. I always just deviated into my own interest. So shortly after that, I had my oldest son in 99, which at that point, forced me into the workforce. I had to get a paying job. I had to provide. So I was fortunate enough at the time to land a gig as a support technician for Comcast, which at that time was, a decent paying job. It was stable. But I was doing cable repair. I was doing cable TV repair. And it was an interesting time then, because I got to see the emergence of digital cable, HD TV, all these revolutionary, technologies on that side, and broadband. High speed internet was not far away. So, it was a very revolutionary time to be involved in that industry. So, while I was there, I met folks in the IT realm. And shortly after, I decided to make a move to a help desk. That was sort of my entry into IT. And the help desk that I went to was JP Morgan Chase, and it was a global help desk, and it was very fast paced, and it was just like threw me into the fire of IT.
I know what that's like.
But if Yeah. But I don't think I would have had it any other way, because I was really forced to learn quickly.
Yeah.
And if you remember, just throughout school and even after that, I deviated to my own interests, and this was something that interests me. And I think that's what really fueled me in terms of just learning. I feel like I'm a better self-learner, or at least I was at the time. So during my time in the help desk, I kind of just evolved, met new people. Security was starting to come into the picture more. They were building out, internal pen testing and red teams. It wasn't a red team then, but it was a team that they developed in house, and they were, testing their systems. So I had friends in that area because I was in IT, and one in particular ended up leaving and going to a much smaller bank, and he knew that I was interested in security, and so he sort of recruited me to join him at the smaller bank as a level 1 security analyst. And I think this was in the 2011 2012 timeframe. So I think the day that I stepped in the door there, from day one, I developed this passion for security, and it just never stopped. I wish I would have got into it earlier, but I didn't have that connection. So, I really attribute him to introducing me into the field. It didn't feel like a 9 to 5 anymore. It just felt different, staying up late, studying new concepts, security concepts, on my days off, things like that. It was just a new territory for me that I've never really experienced before. So just continue building my skills as an engineer / architect, went through various enterprise organizations, and then finally crossed over into the world of security consulting about 4 years ago. And that's what I'm focused on now. In addition to, these other security related projects that we'll get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my story.
That's cool, man.
That's fascinating.
He's got kind of a similar background to, I think, both of us, Jason, because we kind of both started in that support role and then kind of moved through the ranks and, started help desk, move up to network administrator, move up to senior network administrator, and then move into network engineering and then senior network engineer, and then finally into management. And I've been at the same company now for 24 years this year. And I feel like I've worn just about every hat you could wear in IT. And it's been great, but similar to you, what got me started was starting out, even though I had the title of network administrator, they didn't allow us to be too good for any position. So when help desk calls started rolling over, we have basically like a call bank. If all the help desk guys are on a call, guess what? It rolls over to the network admins. So we got thrown in the fire just like they did. And I think that's honestly probably the best way to learn. Because if you don't know how to troubleshoot problems in a Windows or Active Directory environment or in networking in general, you're sure as hell going to learn after about 3 years taking those phone calls.
Yeah.
You're going to see everything.
I can tell you, I think those who enjoy technology and want to learn and grow with it because they enjoy learning, those are the people that really, succeed at it because they follow that path of, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to try this out. I know I want to do something around technology and try it out and see where it goes. And that path leads to more learning, more excitement, more that you have in your bag that you've done, more challenges that you've faced, that you've conquered. It's this constant series of achievements that you have within your own abilities to capture and go after. And those are the stories that are great, man, because you'll hear about someone who did exactly like you, that started off at the very bottom, didn't know what they wanted to do, tried a few things out, started liking it, and then kept digging deeper and deeper and deeper until they ended up getting somewhere that they just enjoy and love what they do every day.
Well, yeah, and a lot of times
that's what makes it so.
Go ahead, Chris. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's what makes it so beautiful is that it doesn't need to be uniform across the board for individuals. I mean, it gives you a different perspective than the next person, and I think that each person is going to bring their own strengths, their own experiences, their own viewpoints, and be able to contribute in different ways. And we don't want an army of robots that know exactly the same thing. So I think it's actually better that it's that way.
100%.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think a lot of what you see in IT especially or in cybersecurity more specifically is that everybody came from all these different backgrounds and have different skill sets and got into this field not knowing exactly what they wanted to do. They just knew, cybersecurity is stable, it's growing, it's something that I can figure out my way once I get in. I just need to get in, right? And so one thing that I'd like to, for listeners to understand, if you're not in cybersecurity yet, but you're thinking about it, or maybe you're out there studying or you're still in school or you're gathering certs, we're 3 living examples of people that really didn't know what the hell we wanted to do when we first got into cybersecurity. And now we're in it and thriving and loving it. And we found our way and we found the area. The cool thing about cybersecurity, there's so many different directions you can go. And none of us are doing the exact same thing in our real world, but we're all living in cybersecurity every day. So that's the cool thing about it.
Well, actually, Chris, I got to tell you this story. So I knew what I wanted to do, and I didn't know that I wanted to be in cybersecurity.
Jason,
but I knew what I wanted to do. I only got in cybersecurity because some dude kept hounding on me, pulling on my coattails, saying, "Man, what are you doing? You need to get into this. Come on, man, come join me over here." And he wouldn't stop. He was so relentless, Kevin. And eventually I found myself taking that CISSP exam twice, passing that thing, and then now I'm all in it.
Nice.
I just knew.
Once you get the CISSP, I mean, you're that's basically just signing off and saying you're not going back.
Oh no!
If you go through that war of studying for the CISSP, passing it.
Oh my God!
There is no. That's the point of no return.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Jason,
You're all in by then.
I thought when you said I knew what I wanted to do, you were going to go into your whole world of Chippendales dancing and your dancer name, Carmelicious. You wanted to be that cyber stripper that all the people love and adore.
Cyber stripper.
See, Chris, this is the reason why you can't have friends, man. Because when you have friends, they learn all your stories.
And they expose you.
Yeah,
that's right.
We've exposed each other many, many times. That's the awesome thing about it.
Well, look, guys, we got a lot to get into. I really, really enjoyed that story. But let's dive a little deeper into BARCODE, and let's talk about that. I looked over some of the guest lineups you had. I looked at some of the podcast recordings that you guys have done. Really, really good stuff. I really enjoyed them. And, it's interesting, the dynamic twist that you put on it. And that dynamic twist being, you host them at these public and private live events at these bars and breweries, and you get people to come in and then just enjoy themselves while this live broadcast is going on. And it becomes this kind of this community of conversation that people get to just experience. And I just think that is so, so darn cool, and being able to even expand that thing into industry conferences and doing things like Secure World and Black Hat and DEF CON and getting into larger audiences really starts to bring that message, around the passion, exactly what we were just talking about, the passion around cybersecurity and why we do it and what is important about it and why people should be involved in it. Those things are so awesome. But, Chris, tell us a little bit more about the inspiration you had around BARCODE.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so I had the idea to do a podcast prior to actually doing it. I just did not have the opportunity. I was working on site at a company. I didn't have access to others. So I think what happened was when the pandemic hit, as terrible as that time was, I realized that I would not only have more time to produce it, I would have the accessibility to experts who would potentially have more accessibility to speak with me. So I took advantage of that opportunity. And at the same time, I knew I wanted to do something that was really laid back. And I knew at the time there wasn't many programs that didn't seem dry to me. Most of them were straightforward, and I just wanted to do a little something different, a little bit more of I guess my style. And selfishly, I wanted to do a program on topics that I enjoy talking about. So I never really set off to say, look, I'm going to talk about cloud security, or I'm going to talk about pen testing, or I didn't carve out this niche. It was more about, what I felt was interesting. And if someone listened, they listened. If not, I was okay with that. So the pandemic, it left this void in our industry where we didn't have in-person technical meetups or security conferences to attend. And you remember that shift to virtual conferences and your business hosting a virtual happy hour, and it was cool. You got to see people, but it just wasn't the same. But I always enjoyed networking. I always enjoyed talking to people, whether it's in person or virtual. And I always found out that when you go to these conferences, you go to these meetups, that you gain that unspoken intel, that innovation, those innovative ideas at those after-hour events. Often, for me, it's not always about going to a conference or listening to a bi-directional talk in a conference room with four walls. It's really getting outside of that atmosphere, and people open up more and they share ideas, and I think that's where a lot of great collaboration happens. So the concept, essentially the concept of BARCODE was to take that atmosphere, that experience, and virtualize it. So I decided to start every episode with a bar sketch, serve a drink that's relevant to the conversation, and engage in a back and forth with an expert as if you were just sitting across the bar from them. You ran into the bar and you can just ask them whatever you want, and then tie that personal story behind it. And when I first started, people would come to me and say, "Oh man, you can't do this alcohol fueled podcast." And I'm like, "No, dude, that's not the way I want to bring it." And I think it took some time to really prove myself as this is not an alcohol fueled conversation. Like, this is a professional, legitimate conversation that we're having, and it's more around the concept of a non-pressure type of atmosphere.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. When you go to these events, and we've all been to these events, and let's face it, what is Black Hat when you really stop and think about it? Aside from a giant exhibit hall and a bunch of sales pitches, it's networking. And yeah, you can sit in the four walls like you mentioned, and you can listen to the briefings and the talks, and you can learn things that way. But you hit the nail on the head, man. When you get outside that atmosphere and it's more laid back and it's more relaxed, I find that I learn more talking to people that way than going booth to booth and trying to learn about one product after another. And so it's the concept that you've come up with is really cool. I like how you've wrapped it in the bar type theme. I love the name, and I was listening to the episode where you were on Phillip Wylie's podcast, and you talked about how you came up with the name, which is really, really cool too. We should talk about that here in a second. But I also want to talk about the whole live aspect, because that's kind of a unique twist to doing podcasting, in that, when you're live, there's a little more pressure. There's a little more stress. We talked about it. Not only did you do one, you did two the week of Hacker Summer Camp. I know that couldn't have been easy. You have to organize things. You have to have the equipment on site. You have to have people helping you to rustle and bring things together. It's probably not a one-man show, which I could tell you kind of had some help there too, which is great. So I'm really curious, in your mind, is doing it that way a lot harder in your mind, or are you just now used to that? And about equipment, what kind of special equipment do you need to do it that way?
Yeah, that's a great question. So generally I approach the interview process the same. Although, like you said, there are quite a bit more logistics that have to go into it with a live show. So the guest and the topic are probably the same. I mean, they're pretty much straightforward. You have to just make sure that, they're available and it's a topic that you agree on, that it's a captivating topic. But I think, the parallels with live and recorded are the same in that aspect. When you look at the venue, I really enjoy breweries just because it's got that, atmosphere that aligns with the show.
It's relaxed,
breweries or lounges or just sort of laid back, and people just don't have to have to worry about it. So, I have done shows at live shows at conferences as well. Those tend to already have the space allocated, so that's less work on my end to try to find a venue that it can accommodate, the guests, the setup, the AV setup, everything that I need to make it happen. Normally the conferences already have that aligned. Last night I actually did a live podcast, and this is a little bit different. This was at the interviewee's house.
Oh, interesting.
And the reason that was the first time I've done that. And so leading up to this, I had an idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted to incorporate a jazz band into this podcast. And so I wanted to have live music, but then I also wanted to tell this person's story with music accompaniment behind me. Like, they're off to the side, and as we're going through this story, they're playing music that aligns to the story as well. I didn't know how it was going to go down. Like, this was just in my mind. I thought it was like, this is a cool story, so let's do it. And I started calling venues, and no venue could accommodate it. No venue had the space or an AV setup where I could do a live podcast and have a jazz trio come in. So I told this idea to my guest, and he's a local guy, man, great friend of mine. And he was like, let's just do it here. Let's just do it here. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, like let me see your place. Let's see if we can accommodate it. And it was definitely it was great, man. He had a great place. We had about 60 people show up. And we set up inside. He had enough space for the band, and it was successful, man. And that was the first time I've ever done that. People that showed up really seemed to like it. So moving forward, I'd like to do more events like that.
That's a super cool. That's super cool idea.
Yeah, it
was different,
it's
man.
unique.
I went in just knowing this was a risky move. Like, people might be like, man, I don't know if I want to go to somebody's house and just chill. But the way he had it set up was definitely, there was enough room for people to move around in and out outside. Luckily, it was a great night last night, so we had the fire going in the backyard.
Oh, that's so cool.
It was different, man. Yeah, it was different, man. With a live audience, I will say that it's a different energy. I mean, you have that audience engagement versus when you're doing a recorded episode. There's no way to compare me, in my office right now alone versus, in front of a crowd. So that's really hard to explain, and it really took me some time to get used to that. But it's basically the setting, right? That's all that's really changing is the setting, and once you get past that in your mind, it gets more comfortable.
Yeah, the setting.
You mentioned the post editing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say the setting thing is a huge element of that. I think the bigger stress for me would be that, and Jason knows this about me, I'm very perfectionistic in the end product. I want to spend hours and hours and hours polishing an episode before we can actually release it. Just throw a bunch of this rich content on top of the video and all this stuff. He has to throttle me back all the time with that. So I can't even imagine myself in that stressful live environment with all the things that can go wrong, how I'm going to react to that. But you handle it. You handle it
like podcast counseling.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I need the same talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I'll be like spending hours getting this stuff just right, and then I'll do a release so he can review it. He starts looking at it, and he will pick out, "Hey, man, at like 10:57, I heard like a little glitch in the audio. It doesn't sound good. Can you take that out?" I'm like, oh my gosh, man.
I'll admit it, man. I am so anal retentive with that stuff. And when I go back and listen to one that we've already released, and I realize, damn, how did I miss that? Because you're listening to it again, you're like, what? How did I even miss that? Was I sleeping? I get so mad at myself when I miss stuff. But once you release it, it's too late. Screw it. Move on with life, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to learn that, man. I'm trying to learn that too, because I'm a perfectionist. And so when I'm post editing or I'm doing post production, man, like it took me a long time to just stop listening to my voice too, or just like when I hear my own voice, man, it's I think that's with everybody though. But it took me a long time to get over that and actually, produce my shows. But at the end of the day, man, I got the same mentality. For me, it's quality over everything.
Yeah.
And but nobody's perfect either.
That's true.
Chris,
That's
you know
true.
what? That listening to your own voice, I agree with you. Took me a long time. I got over that. But one thing I will never get over is listening to Kevin's voice.
Oh my God, dude. It's
that beats me up every time.
It's that southern freaking
That's what gets you.
redneck draw that I have living in Texas. I get it, man. I freaking hate my voice, dude. I'll be honest. I've always hated my voice. So I just have to ignore the fact that I just, whatever. Yeah. Hopefully somebody could take something away from what I'm telling them and not listening to how stupid I sound.
Well, there you go. That's why we're friends. We both hate your voice. So we're good to go.
Yeah. I appreciate your honesty, man.
Well, with live shows, that's the beauty is that you don't have to, you can't edit it. You can't edit real time. So I actually like and enjoy that aspect of a live show. It's you don't have to really focus on that and just rely on your skill and just, free flowing that conversation. And I think people, enjoy that, more than what we think that we need to have this perfect product that we put out all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing to have, but something about that real experience and just having more of a raw conversation is extremely valuable.
Yeah, that's one of the
definitely.
things I noticed about it. When we were there live and you were just having this normal everyday conversation with Freaky Clown the Hacker, it's like it came off so genuine. Every bit of that interview came off as genuine and just down to earth. And that's what's so cool about it. And that was on your side and on his side. Both of you guys were just having a conversation. One of the first things Jason and I said when we started this podcast was, dude, I don't know where this is going to go. I don't even know if we're going to do it more than a year, but let's just have fun with it. And at the end of the day, let's make it real. Let's just have fun and have conversations with cool people that work in cyber, live in cyber, and just want to give back to the cyber community. And that's why we do it. And yours seemed very genuine in that regard. So good job on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And FC is great. I mean, he's very easy to talk to, and I've spoken to him a few times prior to that, so that helped a little bit with the conversation chemistry.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, and we, even with the live or recorded show, like I like knowing who I'm speaking to. It's rare anymore that I'll get on cold with an interviewee. I at least have a few calls or just introduce myself, because I think that you get an idea for that person's cadence and an idea for that person's where their mind is. So that helps as well, just knowing your interviewee prior to the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, guys, we're kind of coming up to the end of this segment here, and Chris, I'd just really like to get more back into. I want to pick your brain a little bit about what you're seeing and talking to guests about in terms of cybersecurity trends and challenges. And we're going to dig a little deeper into that and come up with some nuggets to share with our audience. Let's take a quick break and we'll be back.
Sounds good.
According to CompTIA, it's a myth that you need a college degree to get into IT. If you're thinking about changing your career, you should know that more than 25% of IT professionals don't have college degrees. It's also a myth that you can't be creative in tech. Tech jobs involve creativity in visual, audio, text, or graphic design. Web designers, web developers, and content creators are just a few jobs requiring creativity and innovative skills. Skills you may not have known can catapult you in a technical job. Creativity is essential in software and web development roles, while you'll be expected to come up with bright ideas to create and enhance new products. In other roles, creativity will help you to address technology concerns. Problem solving is the most important skill to have in tech. If you know you're tenacious about figuring out solutions, you'll excel in the field. Attention to detail is required if you're trying to fix a line of code or identify a cybersecurity threat, and these skills will get you far in IT.
And we're back. And so for this next segment, we wanted to shift directions a little bit and dive a little bit more deeper into trends and challenges in the field of cybersecurity. So Chris, I wanted to get your opinion on what you feel are the most pressing cybersecurity trends or threats that you see currently affecting individuals and organizations in terms of cybersecurity.
Yeah, great point. I'll have to say ransomware, man. And it's evolving iterations that you continue to see. And the reason I say that is because it's continuing to plague organizations. As long as we've known about ransomware, as long as we've tried to prevent it, it's still plaguing organizations and it's still crippling organizations. And you can dissect that a little bit beyond the word of just ransomware, right? You're looking at, layers underneath that. You're looking at email security, endpoint security, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, I think that's what organizations fear the most. And I think that's what professionals, cybersecurity professionals need to be cognizant of, that it's still evolving. It's still there. And again, it's crippling, man. It's crippling in critical infrastructure. We've seen that. It was crippling in healthcare environments where systems, cannot afford to go down. And at that point, you're talking about devastation beyond ones and zeros. You're talking about the threat of human lives on the line, right? And those type of threats that go beyond a computer system. So yeah, I mean, I think that would be definitely priority number one, and something that I think that is something that should still be, in front of everybody in every organization.
That's all great. Yeah, we when we first started this podcast, our first 2 episodes were on ransomware. For that reason, we completely agree with you there. And like you said, the fact that it's evolving and advancing, and we do everything we can to try to stop it or at least slow it down. But the hackers are just getting smarter, and the tools are getting more advanced. And now we've got AI and all these things. And at first, it used to just be ransomware. All right, I'm going to encrypt your files and force you to give me money so that you can get your files unencrypted. But then they started to realize people are backing their stuff up, and they're getting smart enough to protect themselves from that. What do? Now they're extracting all your data and sending it out to the cloud before they even tell you that they've encrypted it. So now they can hold that over your head and say, you know what, we're going to release it to the dark web if you don't pay us anyway. So it's just like you said, it's evolving. It's crazy.
I think once you get hit, man, you lost. That's the way I look at it. Once you get hit, you lost, because are you going to trust them? Are you really going to trust someone that's done this to you, that if you pay them, you're going to get your data back? And I understand that there's certain situations that you need to do that. Critical infrastructure, colonial pipeline. I understand all that. But at the end of the day, to me, you took an L on that regardless. And now you just have to rebuild and face that risk.
Yeah. Here's the challenge that everyone faces. And I have a backstory to it all, but the challenge of it is we talk about this often. The most critical aspect of any cybersecurity program is the individuals that are under your roof. Those individuals are the most critical aspect, because that is likely where it's going to start. Most often, that's where it is. Someone makes a mistake, and you can't control people from not making mistakes. Someone is going to make a mistake, and that one mistake can lead to things like ransomware happening. Now, I'll give you an example. So I got hit with ransomware. My company did several years ago, right before COVID. And it was because of an user error. We had an individual who had made a mistake and didn't secure a new instance of a device down fast enough. And it just happened to be the right time, things going on in our area that hackers were looking for opportunities, and they were at our doorstep when this occurred, so they had a way in, they took advantage. Now, the flip side of that is, my issue is I'm a very competitive person. And so when you piss in my cereal, it fires me up. And it's like throwing the gauntlet down. It's time, like, okay, so you think you're going to get me? We're going to see who's going to get who. And so I was determined to not let this destroy anything that we have built. And so I did all of the other things that you should do as a result of being hit, right? I contained all of my equipment. I quarantined it. I created a crime scene associated with it. I put in a plan for my DR, started executing on my DR plan. I started executing on everything I needed to do to recover from a catastrophic event like this. And it still took us 4 days, but 4 days is under average to what an average ransomware attack takes for recovery. Yeah. If you recover, right? And if you don't pay the ransom. And we fully recovered and was able to come out of it. At the end of the day, it really comes down to how much depth do you have in your program to manage for mistakes, because they will happen. Let's look at MGM. MGM, catastrophic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you can't blame the individual who may have made the mistake when
the entire structure of that system was bad.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason why you should not have had contingencies to recover out of that sooner than they actually, had. That's the real issue from that. So I like to say you should always plan to be attacked, because you will. At some point, somehow, somewhere, you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
And make sure you have enough contingencies in place that it becomes a non-issue for you.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And I think that when I alluded to the you lost part of that, it's the fact that unless you're prepared for that, you don't know the degree of loss that you're at. It could be a loss of data, but at the same time, that loss could be impacting your reputation. It could be impacting your next day. You could be unemployed. So, it does have that effect where it could just, hit you at different levels. So
you're exactly right. And hey, guess what? You're going to take a hit.
Yeah.
You're going to take a hit. Somewhere you're going to take a hit, and it ain't going to feel good.
Well,
and the best thing you can do is suck it up and decide, okay, this is what happened. This is where we are. And this is how I'm going to represent myself coming out of this.
So imagine you're the guy that makes the call to recommend to your executives or your board, guys, we need to pay this ransom. Business-wise, it's the smartest thing for us to do, right? It's not ideal. Nobody wants to pay a high-dollar ransom, but it's costing us X number of dollars a day to not be back up and running and operational. We need to pay this. Okay, now imagine you're that guy. You pay that ransom, and now the hacker doesn't give you the encryption key. At that point, you might as well just update that resume.
I was going to say, you better know a good recruiter.
Yeah. So that's not a good backup plan if all you have is to hope that a cyber criminal is going to be honest in the fact that they're going to release to you a decryption key that actually works.
Yeah. But to be honest with that too, to put it in context, I couldn't imagine being attacked and being blinded by what my options are. So for us, at least, I was able to go in and reverse engineer the actual virus that they put within the system and understand what it was trying to do and as it approached through the system. And then further from that, being able to, through that forensics process, I was able to determine the length of how far it got within our environment, what all of the potential affected areas were. And then I was also able to determine, if we had it contained early enough or not. That's a lot of really critical information because I had that information, I was able to make better decisions early and upfront. And I'm talking about, I knew this information within the first few hours of this happening. Knowing it that early allowed me to make better decisions about,
absolutely.
Am I at their whim? And do I need to try to pay this ransom? Or do I have a way of really fully recovering and making this a non-issue? I couldn't imagine not having that information out there, which a lot of people are in that situation and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Most often they have to get a third party to come in and do all that work. And it's not hours, it's days before they have that level of information.
Pricey AF, man.
Pricey AF. And look at SMBs, man. Like a lot of times, like right now, you would think SMBs aren't really being targeted, but I mean, they're going to hit anybody that's willing to get hit. And the fact that SMBs now, they're done. I mean, in a lot of cases, they're done. If they, you have to look at other things too, cybersecurity insurance or third party support, whatever they have.
Sure.
But that could be it for them. And then nobody wins.
Right.
That's true.
Well, let's jump into another quick topic here, Chris. I know you've been doing this for a while. You've been doing this long enough now and probably have interviewed enough guests and had enough different conversations to at least uncover a few common misconceptions in the world of cybersecurity. So I'm curious if you've talked to any of your guests or if you've just stumbled on to some things that may not be completely truly understood properly in the world of cybersecurity, and what have you learned from that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I might take I've spoken to guests about this, but I'll take a page out of my own book and just say that there's a misconception that cybersecurity is difficult to get into, the cybersecurity industry, and from someone that's had to maneuver through the industry on my own and learn on my own. And we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
I took a non-conventional route, and I've often looked for non-conventional ways to succeed in this industry, and it can be done. And I think, again, we're three people right now talking that's proof of being done. So it's not a difficult field to get into. You come into the field, you can bring other skill sets from your industry that you may be in. If you're career transitioning into the field, you have valuable skills that you can bring into security. Education and certifications are great foundations. But for me, I've always found that the value is in writing blogs, in networking, whether it's online or on site, making connections, starting a podcast, connecting with a mentor. So there's a lot of great avenues into security. You need to realize that you're not starting at level 0, right? You have a skill set that's going to align, whether that's communication, whether that's technical. You have something to bring. So, and I would love the people to get past that misconception, if it is still a misconception.
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah, and start with a DM to me, like message me on LinkedIn. I'll help you get pointed in the right direction. I'm not turning away anybody that's looking for help on how to break into the industry. And I'll walk you through my story. I'll help point you to, folks in my network that I know. So if that is something that's still, a barrier for people, please reach out to me, and, I'll help you. So that's what I would say.
I love that answer. And I love that you started with, you got into it unconventionally, because I feel like that's part of ingrained in your DNA, because the way you're doing your podcast is kind of unconventional. It's different. And that's what makes it so cool. That's what makes it so unique. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story that kind of fits into that. So one of my sons is a Marine. He was stationed in Afghanistan. And while he was there, I was FaceTiming with him one day, and we were talking about, what are you going to do when you get back to the States, when you move on, what your next path is. And he had some buddies that were with him. He says, hey, you mind talking to my buddies? They're really interested in cybersecurity. When they get out, they're planning on getting out, and they're going to want to do something in cybersecurity, and they don't really know where to go. I'm like, yeah, sure. So we set up a meeting, and these guys came 100% prepared, dude. They sat down in front of the camera. They had their notebooks, they had their pencils, and they just started asking me questions. This went on for an hour and a half of them just asking me questions and them taking notes and writing notes down. And so, bringing it back full circle, just this last week, my son said, hey, you remember my buddy, blah, 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 he was in Afghanistan with me. He's like, he was one of the guys you talked to him about cybersecurity. He's like, he's now taking classes on cybersecurity, and he's writing a paper on your podcast.
Oh, that's
for
cool.
his class. I'm like, that is awesome, man. I am so glad I had the chance to share that information with him, to get this guy to go into the field and do something with it, and to further share that information even further by writing a paper about what we're doing in our podcast. It's awesome,
I love
man.
that, man.
That's so cool.
And he'll never forget it. He'll never forget it. He can read a textbook, but he'll never forget that experience. And I guarantee you that's going to be part of his, his story and his drive. Is that
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, look, I think another question here, Chris, is when we relate this to podcasting and thinking about, doing the next episode or grabbing the next guest,
how do you stay up to date on how fast technology is moving and the field moves, and who might be the next person to fill that gap of information that you're trying to go after?
Yeah, another great question. So I can tell you that my passion drives my curiosity. As I mentioned before, I'm constantly reading news. I'm constantly listening to podcasts like yours to get recent developments in security and things, topics, and try to just stay on top of what's going on. And because I'm passionate about it, it really makes it easy. But I'm also a true engineer and an architect and a support technician at heart. So I like to solve problems, and in order to effectively solve problems, it's really pertinent that you understand the landscape of what's going on. So to your point, I do try to remain on topics and solutions. I listen to other podcasts, like I said. I read blogs. I talk and network with a lot of folks at different events. I also like to network with a lot of folks in academia and researchers in academia, because a lot of the research that are coming out of labs right now and things like that really interest me. So yeah, I guess that's how I would stay on top of things. And yeah, again, just try to stay on top of what's going on. And I'm a consultant as well, so to understand the threat landscape and to help organizations better protect themselves against current and emerging threats, that's another reason that you got to stay in front of it.
Well, you're saying a good thing that you just said that I want to make sure people can't gravitate to and capture is this technology. This area of technology continues to evolve and move. This is not something you're going to go and get trained on and then just do it the same way every day for years on end. This is an industry in which you have to continue to learn where it's going and how to continue to train yourself to evolve to that next threat level that might occur. And if you're not doing that, you're going to become obsolete real quick. So you have to have a learning mentality. And what I'm hearing you saying is that's in your nature, is to want to learn and be curious and understand it and know more and figure out how you might utilize something to solve another problem or fix something else. And that just kind of continues to evolve for you and leads you to ask more questions. And those are the ingredients that help a person be successful in cybersecurity.
Well, and as you get into this field, you're going to realize pretty quickly, if you start chasing certifications, you're going to have to be willing to continue learning, because you need those continuing professional education credits to keep those certs.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Yeah.
So get ready. You're not done. Just because you get a cert, you are far from done. You are far from
all
done.
about the CPEs.
That's right.
And I think it comes down to the individual too. If that's what you enjoy and that's how you learn, that's cool. If it's listening to a podcast, that's cool too. I think different people consume content differently. But as long as you're ingesting some type of relevant content that's up to date, and again, it genuinely interests you, you're going to seek that out and you're going to find it. So,
well, speaking of interests you and still staying on the topic of podcasts, Chris, I know you've had some of the most elite of the elite cybersecurity professionals as guests on your podcast. I've looked at your lineup and I'm just like, oh my God, he's had that guy, he's had this, he's had her. Oh my God, dude, some of the people you've had, it's amazing. So I have to ask, of all the episodes that you've done, which one or which ones are the most meaningful or really stand out the most to you as the host of the podcast?
All right. I'm going to need to take a sip before I answer this question.
Please do.
So early on, I'm going to give you two answers. The first one is episode 2. Episode 2, I had Troy Hunt, which for me, I think that solidified my moving forward in this podcast. I said, all right, I got Troy Hunt now. I can't stop at episode 2. I got to keep going.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
But at the end of episode 2, I went back and I listened to it, and I couldn't hear it. I was like, no, This is not good. And I think I was listening to it on my phone, and I went back and I listened to it later, and it was fine. It was good. But I think that moment in time, man, I think I like, I don't know, man. Like, I think I just like, I started like seeing red. I couldn't see. Like, I was just like, this is not happening. 'Cause he's not going to do this again. So I think my answer is going to be, episode 53. So my episode 53 was with an ex Black Hat hacker named Gummo. I don't know if you're familiar with Gummo.
No.
Gummo does not do interviews. Gummo did one interview on a show called Soft White Underbelly on YouTube. And I think that was part of what made that interview special, was because not only does he have an amazing story to tell, but the fact that there's nothing on him. He doesn't do many interviews, and just so finding him, connecting with him on a personal level, befriending him online, and just getting to know this person, who you don't know much about going in. A lot of times with guests, you can do a lot of recon on them. You can listen to episodes that they've done on other shows, but without knowing this person and his personality, and his story of a traumatic childhood to triumph, and it just served as an inspiration to me. That conversation took a very emotional turn, and it's a story that you won't hear often. And he's just an amazing person to know. And I've been lucky to stay connected with him. I actually had 2 conversations with him for the podcast. The first one had technical difficulties, I'll just say that, and so I had to re-record that conversation with him. Luckily, he was willing to do that. So I would say, that one has really been embedded in my memory. All of my episodes are the people that I connect with. It's like nothing else. And I think, that's, the number one thing that I'll take away from this is, the connections that I make.
Yeah.
And I will say that everyone that I've spoken to, 99.9% of the people that I've spoken to, I continue to have that relationship with them. I still talk to them. I still, reach out to them. I think we still have a great connection. So, but I would say that that's the one that really hit me.
I've taken my notes down, so I'm going to go back and listen to 53 because now I can't not listen to it. You got me all intrigued now, so I'll be checking that one out.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a have to listen.
That's a have to, man. That's a have to. And as the last time I checked, that was the top downloaded or listened to episode that I've had. So,
wow,
cool.
Yeah, check that one out. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely will.
Chris, I think keeping this moving along, I want to jump a little bit into some AI aspects. And thinking about, where we are today and what's happening in AI, the big buzzword around cybersecurity is all this AI. Everyone's talking about it in some form or fashion. And it's a really fascinating topic. I've been doing a lot with AI and in discovering what its potential really is and what it is not. And it's fascinating to be yet again in my career at another point working with a very disruptive technology that has the potential to fundamentally change how we are doing and interacting with computers and data in many ways. I mean, changing how we think. So to be in that point in the space of cybersecurity, I'd like to get your thoughts a little bit about what do you think? What do you think about AI and where it's going to go and its impact in cybersecurity?
Yeah, man. How much time we have left?
Might have to turn this into a 3-part episode.
You forced me to take another sip. What's that?
Might have to turn this one into a 3-part episode, huh?
Oh, yeah. Another sip before that answer. Yeah, man, I will say this. Right now, I think we're witnessing something that, not many people get to witness. It's a revolutionary time. It's something that I think is incredible that we're seeing right now. And for AI and for companies that are investing in AI, I think AI is dangerous for companies that are investing in it right now. If it's actually AI and not, AI snake oil, which we will continue to be pushed.
Yeah.
From the product standpoint, right? But as like a species, I think, man, we've never seen anything like this. And the things that people are saying right now that's going to happen in 10 to 20 years, 30 years from now, like I think we're like 2 to 3 years out. Like I think it's just happening so rapidly. You look at the evolution of just LLMs or ChatGPT that everybody's using right now, just over the past 6 months, and how fast that's evolving. So I don't know, man. I think we're very close to some scary times. And I think it's not only going to change, like you said, can't change computers and data, but I think it's going to change psychology. I think it's going to change communication as we know it. I think it's going to it's going to change the way that people live their life, on a scale that I think individuals just aren't ready for yet.
Yeah. I will add this to that. I've done a lot with it at the very ground level, in multiple aspects of AI. But the thing that intrigues me the most is when I made a client that allowed me to have a one-on-one conversation with the engine. And I gave the engine context in such a way that it could hold a conversation. It is mind-blowing when you are having a conversation with AI engine on the backside and you're hearing it. I'm talking to it and it's talking back to me. Yeah. It's not us typing messages. We're having a conversation. I'm thinking of the next thing. I'm telling it and it's coming back to me and telling me its answer, right? And we're logically having this conversation. It starts to change your thinking and how you approach this technology. And that's where I think you're going to see some really fundamental changes in our interaction and just how we communicate and the things that we're looking to do. In fact, great story here. One of the things that it's in the AI world that I'm working on is the ability to give it roles and have it play certain roles and have it serve a purpose in playing a role. And I was sharing with my wife, who works in higher education, how you can do those types of things. And she says, so I wonder if you can make it role play with you on how to give the appropriate iMessages. So an iMessage is when you're having a conversation with someone or an argument with someone, it's better for you not to say, well, you always make me feel like this, because that's putting the blame on the other person. But if you was to change that and say, well, I feel like this situation always turns a certain way, and this is how I feel as a result, then I'm not putting the blame on them, but I'm saying this is what my world of feelings are all about, right? And so she says, I wonder if you can get it to help someone, train someone on how to have the right iMessages. I said, yeah, absolutely. This is how you would do it. And I told her how she can construct a profile or role to send to it, and she did that. And then she's like, she tried it out. She says, all right, well, you make me feel like blah, 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 blah. And it came back and it point blank said, well, I understand what you're trying to say. And what you might try to say in a different way would be, I feel like this when things happen. It point blank wrote it out exactly how you would do an iMessage. And I said, that's the thing that gets scary.
Yeah.
When you can tell it how it should work and you can train it in an instant, train it to work a certain way, and it can respond exactly that way back to you, there's an enormous amount of power ready to be unleashed in how we use it.
I think you're saying something really important there, Jason, when it comes to AI in general. And it's that a lot of people are freaked out over how AI is going to steal jobs and how it's going to change the way we live our lives and how it's going to close so many doors. But what I don't think enough people are paying attention to is how is it also opening new doors? Because you mentioned something there very important. If you don't know how to prompt engineer an AI learning language model to where it can give you the results you want, an AI text-based LLM is it's not worthless, but it's far from perfect. And I think I think there's a lot to be learned in that area, and a lot of people have hardly scratched that surface in prompt engineering when it comes to AI. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for anybody that's just getting into IT or into technology. Look into that because there's so much there.
So a good example of that, right? And this is the analogy I try to share people. Like, this is like a child's brain. It has all of the physical capabilities to carry out logical calculations and reasoning, but it doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And so you physically, it has the potential to do that, but it doesn't know how to do it. You have to train it to do it. So if you can imagine, that can go both ways, right? So if I'm trying to tell a child, if I went to a child and said, hey, build me a plan for this, it's going to say, okay, I don't know what that is, but it's a couple of Lego blocks and maybe some string cheese and something else, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't know. But if you tell it, go back and say, build me a plan, and this is how you build a plan, and these are things I'm looking for specifically in the plan, go. They're going to more likely be able to put something that rims, that's close to what you're looking for. Well, AI can do that. It'll give you something pretty exact if you can tell it what you're looking for. Now, flip the story and think about the same childlike brain capable of doing a lot, who doesn't know good and evil. Now you, as a malicious actor, is telling it, hey, build me this script or this model or a backdoor way to go after this. And it's going to do it. Here are some examples. And it can do it. And in fact, if you can utilize multiple prior examples of malicious activity and feed that into the engine and say, these are some examples, go. Think about the power of the attacks that could occur.
Yeah.
That's the scary part. For me, that's the scary part.
Yeah.
They had at DEF CON this past year, I don't know if you guys had a chance to see it. They had a LLM CTF at AI Village.
We did go. Yes. That was cool.
You did see that? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, like they had basically flags set up that said you need to get, this data, and you had to basically perform some prompt engineering to get that data back. And it's
I
so
participated in it. I participated in a part of it, and it was so interesting in what it was doing, and it was all about prompt engineering and how you could trick it to give you things that it shouldn't be giving you. And that does become very scary. There's going to be people that get really, really, really good at that stuff.
Yeah. And really, really, really rich at doing that stuff. They're going to be the pioneers. The first people that get into prompt engineering and actually master that technique are going to be the pioneers of this entire industry. I guarantee you're going to see that. And 5 years from now, we're going to be looking back and going, well, how did they start their career? Oh, they just got in and started playing around with it and learned how to do prompt engineering correctly. They had all the data sitting there in the database for them. All they had to do was figure out how to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And that's the trick with AI. Like Larry said, I think he said something about AI is like a brilliant toddler. You have to train it. It's got the capability. You just have to train it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Well, let's take another little slight spin.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your upcoming documentary.
Yeah.
And that project.
Let's get into that.
I think that's a very interesting topic. So, you have, both yourself and Matt Barnett are putting your heart and souls into this documentary, and the project is titled Inhuman. So tell us a little bit more about what's like bringing you to do this documentary and what you hope to, the message that people will receive from your documentary will really be.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to this, man. I started this project. Because, AI is powerful, man. AI is so powerful there, and there's threats that are come along with AI that most folks don't realize. Like, we see it within our industry. We understand that there are threats that come along with synthetic media, with deep fakes, with all of these things that we could that malicious entities could use to their advantage. But people down the street from me that don't work in this industry, they're not privy to that. They don't understand that. So really, at the end of the day, my goal with this project is to really show what is possible with AI, and I understand AI is definitely there's definitely positive things that come with AI, but you also have to understand the nefarious use cases that could come along with AI, and to put that in a cinematic way where people can turn on Netflix or turn on Hulu and watch a documentary. Like, you can turn on that now and watch something that you have no idea of, but it's captivating. So I want to bring something to that level in terms of what some of the risks with AI are, and what we're doing. We're talking to AI experts, we're talking to AI researchers, policymakers, industry insiders, to sort of provide us that holistic understanding of what really is AI, and then also what are some of the nefarious use cases that attackers could use. We'll talk about AI in self-driving cars. We'll talk about AI deepfakes and the future of deepfakes, voice synthetics, manipulation, impersonation. These are all things that are capable now. And then when you put that to the fact that it's going to become more scalable in the future, folks that aren't, like I said, privy to this and in front of this daily like we are, they need to get that message. So yeah, my goal here is not to fear monger. It's not to cause, mass chaos that Skynet is coming. But at the same time, we have to be real about the situation. And we have to realize that there are experts that believe that we could get to that point. And when I say get to the point of human extinction, it may not be to the point of, humans stop breathing. It could be to the point of human extinction in terms of, thinking for ourselves, and consciousness. And, I think it goes way beyond the technology. I think it's going to affect and impact people on a much more conscious level than what folks think of. So we're really trying to bring that to the forefront, and we're talking again to AI experts, pioneers that have worked in AI, 20, 30 years ago at NASA, developing the first AI systems, up to, futurists that believe that AI is going to be able to make time travel possible. And we're putting this all out there and trying to bring the truth to people, but through the lens of security and not through the lens of Hollywood. And that's the best way I can really, tell you how our perspective is.
Yeah, sounds exciting.
That's really, that's so cool. That just brings up two questions then, Chris.
Yeah.
When do you expect that this project is going to be done and will come out so people can watch it? And how can people find out more about this project?
Yeah, thanks for asking me that, man. So inhumandocumentary.com is the website. So I think that website's going to be the one I direct everyone to. So it's going to have every, the trailers on there. We're working on a new trailer now, and ways to support us. This is a bootstrap project, so we're doing it on our own. and there's a reason that we're doing that. You know, we don't want to be held within the confines of someone else telling us how to narrate and tell the story. We want to tell it how we see it as true professionals. So there's a reason that we're doing that. But you know, there's always we need help doing that. So Inhuman documentary would be the way to see what we're doing and support us. And then we just finished filming in Vegas when we were out at Black Hat DEF CON. The day after Vegas, we drove down to Virginia after you know, an hour of sleep. we did some filming in Virginia. We did filming in Philly. We're actually leaving to go to LA next week to finalize our filming, and then after that, you know, post-production starts. Again, it's me and Matt really running it, and Matt is a true cybersecurity professional. He founded a consultancy, 7X, and but he's also a filmmaker. So yeah, it really aligned well that I'm able to leverage him for a lot of the film side and the cinematic side of things. So yeah, man, it's exciting times. In terms of when it's getting released, we're really shooting for early Q1. We realize that this topic itself is just accelerating at Mach speed. So in order to get something in this point in time and turn it around where things aren't going to be obsolete when it gets released, we have to work fast, and we realize that. So yeah, Q1 is the target date. We're going to shop it at film festivals. We're gonna shop it to streaming media. Yeah, if you follow us or hit that website, there's ways to stay on stay on our schedule. We'll let you know what's going on with it. So yeah, we're excited about it, man.
That's awesome, man. That's great. And I can't wait to see that. And for anybody listening that's interested in this topic as well, please go out to the website, check it out. And if you can, donate to the project. You know, these guys are doing something really cool, and this stuff's not cheap to do, and especially when you're doing it on your own dime. So if you're inclined, please feel free to donate something, even if it's a little bit. Just every little bit helps. So
support the industry.
Support it when you see it, man. It's,
absolutely.
Yeah. That's
absolutely.
it, man. If you can't do a monetary donation, just you know, let us know what you think of it, man. And that's the whole thing, is to spread awareness, get the truth out there, and to start conversation, and just try to disrupt the narrative that, you know, Hollywood's trying to bring, or anyone else is trying to bring. Just, this is what experts expect, you know. And what I found out is not every expert agrees on what's happening.
Sure.
And that's an interesting aspect as well. So
yeah, very wild.
Well, guys, I think we're kind of at the end of this segment too, and so let's take another little quick break, and then we'll come back and wrap all this up.
Absolutely.
How did the MGM data breach happen? The hackers have told VX Underground that they used social engineering as an initial entry point. They were able to find an MGM Resorts employee on LinkedIn, impersonate them, and call the organization's help desk to ask for access to their account. Who did it? The Scattered Spider hacking group said on Thursday, September 7th, it exfiltrated 6 terabytes of data from the systems of multi-billion-dollar casino operators MGM Resorts International and Caesars Entertainment. Caesars reported to regulators that they had found that hackers stole data from a significant number of its loyalty program members, including driver's license numbers and social security numbers. According to Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal, Caesars chose to pay the ransom.
All right, welcome back from the break. We're going to get into some fun, quick hit questions here with Chris. This is intended to be a lighthearted segment and kind of fun. So, Chris, the way this is going to work, I'm just going to hit you with some of those, you hear those this or that type questions. And I'm not going to, you have no time to really think about it. Just give me the first answer that comes to the top of your head. Okay?
Gotcha.
The faster, the better, Chris.
Rapid fire. Let's go.
Rapid fire, baby.
Right.
Here we go. Okay. Pineapple pizza or candy corn?
Pineapple pizza. I hate candy corn.
Yeah, dude, candy corn's terrible. It's like black
terrible.
licorice. What the hell is that?
I'll take anything over candy corn. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
You guys are scaring off all the little Halloween kids who are about to get candy corn in their bags.
Stay away from that candy corn.
Poor kids. That's the nastiest thing you can get. That's a ripoff. All right, ninjas or pirates?
I'm gonna go ninjas, man.
Ninjas over pirates.
Stealth mode.
Roller coasters or water slides?
Oh man, I hate water slides. I'm gonna go roller coasters.
Oh,
I'm not a fan of either. But if I had to choose, I'd go roller coasters.
All right. Video meetings or in-person meetings? I think I know the answer there.
Oh yeah, in person all day.
Absolutely. We hit on that in the whole episode, right? With the live podcast.
Yeah, exactly. You knew the answer to that one.
Yeah. All right. Weekends or holidays?
I'm gonna go weekends, man. I'm gonna go weekends because I've been trying. Like I work a lot, man, and I've been really trying to carve out my weekends now for my family. Spend more time there because I know during the week it's just it's hard.
It is.
So I'm trying to really carve out time and dedicate, the weekends for my free time now. So I really look forward to those.
I don't blame you. Okay, day or night?
Night.
Amen, brother. Amen.
I'm a night owl, man. I work until 4 a.m.
Me too.
Never been a morning person either.
I hate mornings, dude. Like worse than anybody. All right, ketchup or ranch?
I'm going ranch. I think I use more ranch than I do ketchup.
A lot of people put it on pizza too. I don't get that one, but yeah, hey.
I'll do ranch on a buffalo chicken pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I'm a weirdo, man. I use ketchup on my pizza, and I use that new jalapeno ketchup on my pizza, which is amazing.
You know why? Kevin?
Because I'm a redneck.
Because you're from Texas.
Yeah, I get.
Because you're from Texas. That's why.
I knew there had to be an insult coming.
Dude.
I knew there had to be an insult packed in there somewhere. All right, last one.
Just the way he said that, you knew it was coming.
Oh yeah, I know this guy well enough to know it's not gonna be a favorable comment coming out after that. All right, rich and famous or rich and unknown?
I go rich and unknown, man. Yeah, I mean, if I'm rich, man, I don't mind being off the grid.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm right there with you.
Same here. Yeah.
All right, Jason, take it over. You got a few.
All right, here it is. So I'm going to go to some good ones. Mine are going to be better than Kevin's because Kevin's always dry anyway. But so here we go. It is roommates or live alone.
Ooh. Can you say family as roommates?
That would be That
would be the safest answer for me.
We'll give it to you. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Family or live alone. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Red
I'll
wine.
Family. Yeah.
Red wine or white wine.
I'll go red wine.
Yeah. Rough wine.
I'm not a wine connoisseur. So if I'm getting wine, I usually just say red wine.
Yeah.
Take that red wine.
I like it better anyway. It's
all right.
I'm like, this is good red wine.
More flavor.
Yeah, I'm a red wine guy too. Yeah. Bad breath or body odor?
That's a rough.
I think bad breath because I think you can conceal that more.
How stanky do you want to go?
Yeah. That's
Wow.
Man.
Yeah.
I'll take the lesser of two evils on that one.
That's right. Robots or dinosaurs?
Oh, robots, man.
Yeah.
Robots. That's just my I gotta go robots.
So would you rather be a comedian in a serious film or a serious actor in a comedy film?
Man, neither have ever really worked out that I can think of. I can't think of a good film where either worked out. If it were me, I would say serious actor in a comedy film. Because I'm not a comedian. I mean, I could probably be more serious and then, leave it up to the script writers to make it a good comedy.
Yeah, definitely. A store where every item is free or a restaurant where every dish is calorie free?
Man,
That's
These are
tough.
hard questions.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. Well, I'm trying to do better, so I'm going to say calorie free.
Okay.
If you ask me tomorrow night, it might be a different answer.
Depends on the type
I
of
don't know why
store,
you're so
right?
shocked, Kevin. I don't know why you're so shocked, Kevin. I told you mine were better. Passwords or secret handshakes?
I'm going to go
Man,
secret
you come up with
handshakes.
some pretty cool ones.
Yeah. I'm going to go secret handshakes because if you're doing a secret handshake, that means you're in person. Number one.
Yep.
I like
you
it.
may have more control of the environment and you know your surroundings versus a password. I think it's a little more risky. So I'm going to go secret handshake on that one. I just love secret handshakes. Yeah.
I mean, like, just think about this, right? You're in person, you do your secret handshake. Old boy's like, nah, it's not the right handshake. You still have an out. You can punch him in the face and get in. See?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
and
physical.
Who doesn't want to have a secret handshake?
Physical security.
That's just cool. Right.
All right. Free travel for 1 year or free lodging for 5 years?
Oh, free travel, man. I'll put up a tent in no time, and that costs nothing.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely.
There you go.
All right. Last one. Miss DEF CON for 10 years or wear parka next year and resume normal trips every year after.
Man, that is too complicated.
You gonna wear a parka in the desert? Ooh, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
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 I don't know, man. I enjoy DEF CON so much. I don't know if I could miss DEF CON for the next 10 years.
I'm kind of right there with you.
That's brutal, man. That would be brutal.
Yeah, I'll just put the parka on.
I would definitely put the Parker on. I'd put the Parker on with my smelly ass body odor, man, and my bad breath.
Right.
Just so that I didn't have to miss DEF CON for 10 years.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Just missing DEF CON and coming back 10 years later, like, you wouldn't understand.
Oh, you'd be
nothing.
lost. You'd be lost.
Yeah.
You'd be lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you
I'll
see?
show up in my parka.
Can you
That'd
see
be
Chris
good.
though in his parka after that second live podcast, and he's just drenched in sweat, and he's got all that. Now he's got that body odor and the bad breath. Man, people are gonna be running
That's
from him at that point.
That's right.
They'll be like, nah, dude, you don't have to speak in this one, man. Let's redo the script.
Yeah.
I'll
say,
ask
stand
myself the old questions.
Oh my gosh.
Stand back, man. I'll turn the speaker up so you can hear it from way back there.
Those things.
You don't want to come near me.
Those things are always fun. I like to see what other people answer on those things. That's pretty cool.
Nah, man, that was a lot of fun.
All right,
like
Chris.
that.
So before we let you go, man, how can people find you on your social media? How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, man, thanks. I'm on I'm more active on LinkedIn, I think, than any other social media platform. That's just Chris Glanden. I also have a Barcode Security page, so you can find me there. On Twitter, I have a personal page. It's at Chris Glitz, which is another story how I got that name. Which is, we'll talk about that later. And I also have a Barcode Security page there. And then barcodesecurity.com is the link to the podcast. I'm going to have consulting services there soon as well. And then inhumandocumentary.com is for the documentary. So, yeah, I'm not hard to find.
That's great. So, Chris, thanks for coming on the show. It's been a blast. We've had a great conversation with you. This is what I like about doing these types of things, is that we get to sit down, talk to someone, just talk shop, have a good time doing it, have a lot of laughs, and then share our experiences with the rest of the world, and hopefully they can take away something from it. So thank you for that. And then last, if there's further collaboration that we can do with you, we'd love to. We want to continue to spread the word, support you and what you're doing with Barcode and with your documentary. And, that's what we're here for. So yeah, just let us know, man. We really want to just continue to move things forward.
Thank you guys. And likewise, if there's anything I can do for you, I mean, maybe, we'll we'll do a joint show one time, and we'll do it live.
Dude, that'd be so much
Yeah,
freaking
that'd
fun.
be awesome.
That'd be so much fun.
That would be.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining us for this episode. You heard how to get a hold of Chris. You heard how to find him. Show this guy some love. Get out there. Subscribe to the podcast. Go check out some of those episodes. He's got some amazing guests. We didn't even mention several of them that I'm thinking of off the top of my head right now. In fact, if you like Darknet Diaries, he's actually interviewed Jack Rhysider from Darknet Diaries. Go listen to that episode. He's got a lot of really cool guests that he's talked to out there. So go check him out, and please subscribe. We don't get anything for this stuff. We're not making a lot of money. Jason and I aren't making any money. We're doing this for fun. This is our give back to the cybersecurity community, and we just love doing it. So if you enjoy what we do, please subscribe, leave comments, let us know you enjoyed it, and by all means, let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about on one of the future episodes. We'll be happy to take on some of your ideas and make them come to life in a podcast. So thank you for everything. And with that, guys, I think we're going to call it a night.
All right. Well, thank you guys again, man. This has been great. And yeah, take care, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers, everybody.
Peace out.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Cyber Distortion Podcast. We're pleased that we now offer and have many options for consuming the content of our episodes. We offer the audio-only versions on all major streaming audio platforms. We offer video and audio formats, so you can take in all of the rich content visually if you'd like to. That's over on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/@the-Cyber-Distortion-Podcast. Don't forget to help us grow the podcast by subscribing while you're out there. Feel free to drop comments on what topics you'd like to see us cover for future episodes. You can also visit our brand new blog site. That's out at cyberdistortionpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter, @DistortionCyber is our handle. We release discount codes, blurbs about upcoming episodes, blog links, and of course, talk about drop locations for swag while we're out at various cybersecurity conferences like Black Hat and DEF CON. Speaking of swag, we have officially opened up the long-awaited Cyber Distortion swag shop, which is accessible either on our blog site at cyberdistortion.com or online directly at cyberdistortionswag.shop. We have tons of really cool new swag to offer to help get the name out about the podcast, and we're releasing new items all the time. We're offering lots of discount codes right now at the end of most of our episodes, so listen for those and watch the Twitter page because we drop those there as well. I believe that's it for now, so until next time, cheers everybody, take care, stay diligent, and remember, you are the last line of defense.